I have another fortune cookie. Should I open it?
Go for it. Are you just ordering a Chinese takeaway every day now?
Well, no, I did Panda Express earlier this week, and I got my sister something. She didn't want the fortune cookie, so I had an extra one. So let me eat the loose, broken piece, which I'm sure is a great omen. And I gotta pull the other side. Oh, good. I think it's stale too. Okay. Eat the left side. That's. Oh no!
What?
When I pulled from the left side, it stayed in the left side, not the right side. So I
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just have to eat the one that's empty because you don't want to eat the fortune.
It's just stale, man. I don't like it. I don't like it. Let's just hurry up and eat. You like my crunching?
Oh yeah. There's a little bit of Geeky Geezers ASMR. Now I want you to count backwards from 10.
Stop it. I'm going to read the fortune cookie.
8.
You are only starting on your path to success. Well, isn't that nice? Or is that... Or it might be
You're only starting. You haven't really gotten anywhere, and you probably won't ever, but you're starting.
All right.
Right?
Welcome, everybody, to the Geeky Geezers. I'm going to put a "the" in front each week now. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. It's my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello.
I guess FKHC 2005 is first. Remember when Spider-Man the movie game came out for the GameCube?
I didn't. I never had that, so no.
It came out on PC, but apparently the PC version was terrible. But it had it used the real voice of Tobey Maguire, and the real voice of William Dafoe was the Green Goblin.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that's.
And there was even the part in the beginning of the game where you're trying to chase after the the guy who's part of a gang that killed Uncle Ben. They made him part of a whole gang.
Oh gosh.
Because you have to fight a bunch of guys to get to him, and he's actually in the original human spider suit chasing after him instead of the regular Spider-Man suit. They actually went to that much trouble, but that came out like a month before the movie, so you got kind of a spoiler if you played the game before the movie. But welcome, Netter of Netters Network. I think I said hi, Netter, to Chris P. Apologize for that.
Whatever.
Big Al presents. Welcome. Yes. I every so often will do a Robin of Sherwood stream. Now that I BritBox, I can start watching Blake 7 again.
Right.
It's a great science fiction series. Good evening, gents. I got past the episode where they were trying to make a deal with the criminal organization as a means to oppose the Terran Empire, and then they find out, oh wait, the Terran Empire also controls the criminal organization. They control both sides of the coin.
There you go.
Jessica Hardo, welcome. D. Pensek, welcome. Hail to the Geeky Geezers, thank you. I am so sick of hearing about Spider-Man games. Well, it's the first time I've mentioned it on this channel. I'm sorry. You know.
Yeah.
I remember the Spider-Man 2 game for the GameCube, when you have to do the pizza delivery run like he was doing at the beginning of the movie. They would play the they played that really fast, and it would get faster as your time ran out.
I would imagine, yeah. That's a great way to up the stakes, right?
Yes. Welcome, Zootopia. I assume you still get fired from the job even if you deliver them on time. Lady Mist, welcome. The Spider-Man Genesis game was more interesting though because you had to take pictures in the game. And you had to get good pictures of you fighting one of the bosses like Electro, and you would then sell the pictures, and then you could use the pictures to buy more webbing. There was an economic aspect to it. But.
There's a gamers streamer that that Netter and I watch who is doing one. It sounds kind of similar to that, but this whole thing was first person as a storm chaser. And you want to get the best pictures of tornadoes that you can. Yeah, but of course, you run the risk of driving right into the damn storm, so you got to be careful.
That sounds like a game for Katie Nicolau, but maybe she doesn't want to do that in a game.
She does it in real life. She doesn't need a game to do that.
Jesse Grahardo, I think I already said welcome. If I Mark Malikoff, welcome.
Hey, Mark.
Nick, what? Nick. Does that sound right?
Neck.
Neck.
Yes, close
Whatever,
enough.
I'm getting
close enough. You sound like a human, but
I'd be killed by Christopher
nobody's
Lloyd in
perfect.
Star Trek 3. He just put out his phaser and disintegrate me. That phaser wasn't on stun when he shot that one officer. That was just...
Right.
I keep forgetting phasers have the kill setting. I always got annoyed on TNG how the kill setting didn't disintegrate the body.
Well, there are multiple settings.
Multiple kill settings.
So the highest setting would be a disintegrate setting. Yeah.
Okay. I always liked the. I guess in the interim they came up with different kill settings.
Right.
The interim, because we still have the
in case we want to kill you a little or we want to kill you a lot. See.
Well, maybe with the Klingons, as part of respect, you send the bodies back of the fallen soldiers so they retrieve the fall. Okay. But let me see there. Depensec. If I missed anybody. All right. I don't know. Okay.
I think that deleted scenes might have run over, so we'll be expecting a deleted scenes raid in a little bit.
Yes, Nook Neck. Let's just jump into the good old days. This is from you're saying what is this? Geeky Geezers of last week. This is the prior week before I had to delete the good old days because we just had too many stories.
Yeah.
So we'll just save it for this week. Tonight we're going to talk about The Running Man.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
It's the one that I look at and I just, without reading the words, assume that it's either Terminator or Total Recall.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Ben Richards, a police officer in the future, who, when ordered to fire upon a food riot in progress, he says, "No, those are women and children down there. They just want some food. I'm not going to fire on them." And then they detain him and knock him out, and then he gets blamed for shooting them and shooting the people in the riot anyway. And then he gets sent to a horrible prison because in this future everything is awful.
Right.
There's like resource depletion and what else was going on? The United States has turned, the economy went to crap. The United States has become a police state. And the
so you're saying it's a documentary?
I have to tell you, when I was watching this in like the mid-aughts or whatever, and they re-released the DVD, I'm like, wow, 2017, this isn't sounding that
far off. Yeah.
And I want to bring up, this movie did predict a technology we are dealing with today, the deepfake.
Oh, yeah.
It had the deepfake in it because there's a scene where they do a video of him pretending of him seemingly getting killed by placing his face over somebody else, and it looks just like the real thing. And that's what we would now we have that with deepfake, and they were using computers to do it. So it wasn't so far fetched. They're when you watch old science fiction, sometimes they predict this. They're remaking The Running Man with Glen Powell. I think that's why I decided to cover this, because I thought it's interesting they're covering they're remaking The Running Man. I guess they're just readapting it, unless. Of course, I heard this differed greatly from the book, this movie, but everything is awful. Is that the future or present? Well, I don't think everything's awful in the future, The Running Man. You had this wonderful game show called Climbing for Dollars, where you see this guy climbing up this rope, trying to grab the dollars while Doberman pinchers are snapping at him, and then like then like some steam sprays in his face, and he drops and he goes and then you see the dog, and then it cuts in between them. It says, "We'll be right back," and I'm like, "What is this?"
Yeah. But
the big game show in the future is The Running Man, where they take hardened criminals, usually people on the death row, and they will send. You can actually go into this ring and fight these high-tech gladiators, and if you survive, you get your freedom back. And here we are. There's Arnold running as Ben Richards. And originally he breaks out from prison at the beginning of this movie with a couple of freedom fighter types that got in trouble for, I guess, for teaching the Constitution to children and stuff. So, played by Yaphet Kotto and someone else too. But there's Maria Conchita Alonso. After he breaks out of prison, he's kind of trying to get out of the country. He goes to his brother's apartment, where he thinks he's going to get out that way, but apparently his brother was sent away for re-education. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Sounds like what they're doing in certain other countries right now.
By the way, I dropped a link for you and deleted scenes in direct message to the most recent episode of the Y-Files. You should watch it. You should watch it.
I'll watch it. It sounds important. Mm-hmm. But that's Maria Conchita Alonso. Remember her?
I do. I remember her from... Wasn't she also in Total Recall?
No, but she was in Predator 2.
Oh, okay.
Who was in Total Recall? I forget. Yeah, they tended to like to set him up with some of these with like the
whoever was popular at the time,
like the Bernard Burnett actresses. He had a blonde at the beginning of Total Recall with Sharon Stone, but that didn't work out. But that's a topic for another time.
Yes.
Anyway, though, but the neat thing about this movie is that he gets captured again, and it's like you're watching the game show with the audience, and of course the host is Richard Dawkins. Right, Dawson.
Yes,
Richard Dawson, not Dawkins.
Dawson. Yeah, Dawkins is someone else entirely. But yeah, Dawson. He was he was a famous I want to say British actor. He wasn't he in The Great Escape? I want to say.
Dawson.
Yeah, and then he. Yes, I'm going before that. Okay. Before what you know him from. Okay. Kiddo. I call you Agent Boomer, but I'm really the old guy here.
Tell us a story, Troy Pacelli.
Exactly.
Okay. He was in The Great Escape. All right.
Exactly, and then eventually he retired from acting and became a game show host of the Family Feud. Known for, as he would greet the families, he would kiss all the women as he went down the line.
Richard Dawson was also on Hogan's Heroes. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Maybe I was confusing The Great Escape with
I've not seen The Great Escape. That was Steve McQueen, right? I've seen The Bridge Over the River Kwai. I was confused.
That was the one with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, with Alec Guinness. Alec Guinness, yes. And that wonderful thing where the British soldiers they're constructing a bridge for the Japanese, I believe, right, during World War II. And it almost becomes a point of pride for them to make a perfect bridge, even though, well, they are kind of helping the enemy.
Yeah.
I think he almost gets angry when the bridge gets blown up. I'm spoiling the movie, I'm sorry.
Right. Well, it's a war movie. You kind of can figure out what's going to happen there.
Yes, I know. I need emojis. Anyway, I will get there. Like I said, the fortune predicted it. If you had listened, if you were here at the beginning of the show.
That is true. That is true. That is absolutely
anyway, though,
true.
We have regular emojis here. They're good enough for now. One of the songs,
one of them is a martini. Just that's a standard emoji. That was not one that you need to be a member of Last Call just to get that one. That's standard.
One of the songs they have him sing. Oh, I don't know where this started. Was "Fuck You, the Hunger Games," claiming the Running Man was the original Hunger Games. It was, basically, and
yeah,
I prefer it. I'll be honest with you. I don't mind the Hunger Games. Like, I don't want to attack that, but okay, there's a channel that has Arnold doing parodies, singing about his films. Okay, so it's one of those AI things. I got you, or unless it really is Arnold. I love Richard Dawson. Richard Dawson's a horrible villain in this movie. Like, there's the scene where he's walking into the studio and you see the old guy and he's mopping and, like, he almost trips him up. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. He said, no, don't worry about it. You're doing a great job. Thumbs up. And then he goes to the elevator and he says, if that asshole's still working here at the end of the day, then you'll be mopping the floor for the rest of the week. Remember that? And I was like, wow, what an asshole.
Yeah,
it's just some guy doing.
Funny thing is, there's I've known real people like that. So
yeah, and Sounds of Burma. I'm thinking of watching The Great Escape Annual Thanksgiving Stream. Oh, really?
There you go.
That sounds fascinating. Oh, is that a Thanksgiving movie? Does Thanksgiving happen?
I suppose when you escape from being a prisoner of war, you're gonna be giving thanks.
I guess so. But there's Yaphet Kotto.
There you go.
And I think he was Weiss. I think that was his name. Here we have, and of course, Maria Conchita Alonso. Even though she turns Arnold in, she ends up getting stuck inside the game. There are interesting things about the Running Man. Like, for instance, the one guy was talking about we own the rights to all the future recording technology, and he was talking about tape, VHS tapes, and something called bubble chips. So they were already trying to predict a new format. Mm-hmm. Which I guess were large SD cards, but I guess that didn't come to pass. But it was interesting that they just had a new format. And of course, he fights off these high-tech gladiators that remind me of professional wrestlers. There's Professor Sub-Zero, who dresses like a hockey player and has a hockey stick that will actually cut through like bone. Basically, he'll mess you up with that. There's Buzzsaw. You can guess what he uses as a weapon, right?
He uses garden shears. Am I right?
There's a chainsaw.
Oh, okay.
Funny if he also had garden shears and he would throw them at people. One of my favorites was Dynamo, who shoots electricity out of his hands while also singing opera songs.
There you go.
He almost has
there you go.
I think he has the Roman plume on his head that's all electrical too. That's funny. And there's Fireball, who of course uses as a flamethrower. So that's the one thing I'll say. If they do a readaptation or remake of this, I'd like to see them have fun with the high-tech gladiators.
Yeah,
Might be very interesting. Jesse Ventura is in this movie as well. He played one of the older gladiators called Captain Freedom. It's almost like professional wrestlers too. How he gets called in to go after Ben Richards after Ben Richards wastes all the other guys, and he's in some fancy metal outfit. He's like, I won't do it, Killian. You know, that's the one who Richard Dawson plays, because he's I killing guys like that with my bare hands back in the day. Code of the Gladiator, and then Richard Dawson gets pissed off. Says,
see, I always felt like there was a big missed opportunity back what was it, late '80s, early '90s, with that show American Gladiators. They should have made a movie out of that.
I'm surprised they didn't.
Like similar to this,
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm surprised they didn't do anything with American Gladiators. I know with the WWF, some of the wrestlers would act in movies, like Hulk Hogan showed up in some movies, and of course Jesse Ventura is in.
One of the American Gladiators went on to some serious fame in our community. Gina
really?
Carano.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot she was an American Gladiator. Okay. But yeah, there's Richard Dawson. This is when he's offering. Arnold's confronting him. I think he offers when Ben Richards keeps winning, and he keeps winning. He keeps winning. So the game show host offers him a deal that he could become a stalker, what they call the gladiators, and of course Ben Richards rejects it though. But I remember the old lady in here that basically. She calls Ben Richards one bad mother effer, and that's what she's voting on. But let me see. The Running Man, a crossover bringing stars of the movies Alien, Predator, and Predator 2. Yeah, that's right, because Yaphet Kotto was an alien, and Maria Conchita Alonso was in Predator 2, though. But great little action movie.
So you're saying they all take place in the same universe? I get it. Okay, another one of those.
I don't know. They all take place in the same universe, but if you're a fan of one, you'll be a fan of the other. That's what I'm trying to say. This is one of the great things growing up in the 80s. You had all of these like high concept science fiction, but they had these brutal action scenes because you had Arnold Schwarzenegger in them. I don't know. Stallone did ones later in the 90s, like he did Demolition Man and Judge Dredd, so he was in a couple of these too, but they were more 90s era.
Yeah.
But I know you had done a double feature of those recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from Demolition Man, by the way, when you did the rewatch? Did it remind you of today at all?
There was, yeah. Although I can't remember who it was. It was Curtis or somebody that was in the chat pointed out that apparently this was the one of the deleted scenes or something that they had originally planned was that the story that they talk about with the earthquake caused like a portion of California involving large sections of Los Angeles and San was it San Francisco or maybe it was San Diego to break off as an island into the ocean, and it formed its own. They formed their own country. They seceded and formed their own country. So this was like liberal California politics if they were their own country. And I'm sitting there going, okay, now suddenly the logic in the politics of this makes a lot more sense. Originally, I assumed this was the entire United States that was like this, I was like, okay, I can kind of see that a little bit more,
All right. Because I don't think Texas would have gotten along with that crap.
Yeah, no. I could totally see that, if that was the way the U.S. was going, I think there'd be another Alamo stand, and they would become the Lone Star State again. And Netter and I would absolutely move there then.
Now, of course, he uses the catchphrase is using this, "I'll be back."
No, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Then Killian says, the Richard Dawson character says, "Only in a rerun." Remember that?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. I like The Running Man. It was a staple of my childhood. I used to watch all these R-rated movies I was too young to be watching. Troy, it's weird how some of those future movies like RoboCop, Total Recall, Running Man, Star Troopers feel like they could be moments in history for the future. Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with them. Science fiction has historically always been for the purpose of being a cautionary tale. This is something that could happen. Don't let this happen. Don't let this bring about the end of the world. Don't let this technology develop like we developed the atom bomb, because we'll end up destroying ourselves and stuff. And unfortunately, these dystopian stories were looked at by world governments going, oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. And they became how-tos instead of cautionary tales.
Yeah, instead of the game shows as predicted in Total Recall, we ended up getting reality TV became a big thing, distracting people during the aughts. I remember that.
Yeah.
I guess it still does.
Well, and it's funny because that goes back to the video that I sent you in deleted scenes about things being a distraction, constantly distracting you so you don't see what they're doing. You don't pay attention.
Checking it out.
And even if you do pay attention, they gaslight you, because don't believe your lying eyes. Believe the propaganda the media puts out, because, only conspiracy theorists would think that the media isn't telling you the truth.
Right. Well, that's how Arnold became president. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. This is our layoff special stream. I'm sorry. I guess it's not funny for the people losing their jobs. I should be laughing about that. Cautionary tales always end up becoming instruction books to these people sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
But including the goose that laid the golden egg. Let's right?
Yeah.
That fable. I guess we got to talk about Disney. My favorite.
Oh, we got a good deal of dismal Disney tonight, let me tell you.
Favorite company. My favorite company. Let's open up my notes. No in remembrance. I guess that's a good thing. Disney was hit with layoffs on Wednesday. That was approximately 140 employees, or 2% of its workforce, were let go in the television division. No teams are being limited, but National Geographic, locally owned television stations, Freeform, as well as the network's marketing and publicity teams will primarily be affected by cuts. National Geographic will have the largest reduction in staff, with 60 employees and about 13% of the team being let go. Disney acquired the brand, best known for all things nature and history, as part of its $71 billion acquisition of 21st Century Fox in 2019. They never wanted National Geographic. They don't care about it.
No, I'm sure
they're
they
gonna
don't.
let it. They're gonna let it sink. And I think they were even using that as another paid tier with their Disney Plus thing, instead of just throwing it in with Hulu, which is probably what they should have done. But Disney CEO's Bob Iger earlier this month shared plans to pretty dramatically reduce spending on paid TV content, particularly content aimed at those traditional network. After investing too much in streaming, some of the company's biggest TV shows include FX's Shogun and The Bear, and ABC's Grey's Anatomy and Abbott Elementary. It attempts to save money. Iger said in May the company is aggressively aggregating greater audience and amortizing costs by quickly putting new episodes of network television on digital platforms like Hulu. It's working, he added. What we're getting is unduplicated audiences. So that means if you want to watch Grey's Anatomy, you're not going to watch it on both television and your streaming service. I couldn't have predicted that I want to watch the same episode of the show twice on different formats.
Exactly, and especially now, I mean, if you like a show so much that you would subscribe to a streaming service just for that show, you'll just buy the damn DVDs.
Yeah. Disney has undergone several rounds of cuts as a result of leadership's goal of $7.5 billion in cost reduction plan. In May, Pixar Animation, a division of the company's film group, cut approximately 175 employees, or 14% of its workforce, as part of these efforts. The cuts were due to mandates to scale back on direct-to-consumer series in favor of feature films. Okay, so what the heck was Pixar doing in television?
What the hell is Disney doing in any area of their business? I can't answer those questions.
What are they making for television, though? Because I know that Big Hero 6, that's traditional Disney animation. That wasn't Pixar. The Betamax series that had all the weird stuff about feminine hygiene products and children. Anyway, the cuts were due to mandates to scale back. Okay. 2020, the media conglomerate let go of 3.6 of total headcount, approximately 220,000 worldwide, to attempt to cut costs. See, the thing is, we always do these stories about, oh, they're cutting this many this week, this many this week. And I'm wondering what the total is over the last couple of years. Is it going to size up to a lot?
Don't know.
Do you feel bad about National Geographic? I used to watch those specials, and they'd be on PBS. Remember those? Remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I used to like National Geographic, but honestly, maybe a lot of these types of shows have kind of outlived their usefulness. I'm seeing a lot more of this kind of content on, on YouTube.
I used to watch. I remember the National Geographic special when I was a kid about the Great Pyramids in Egypt and all that. That was interesting to me.
Well, I mean, now you can check out, what is it, the Discovery Channel or whatever, and find out about the ancient aliens who built those pyramids.
I didn't understand what they were trying to say in that first part, but thank you for explaining. Yeah, I guess they're just letting tons of people go. I don't know. ABC News.
Yeah, and Good Morning America. They see the writing on the wall.
I have no idea how they've lasted as long as they have. ABC
right, I agree with you.
Bracing for major cuts as the Disney-owned network slashes budgets, with even those top-rated Good Morning America, those top-rated Good Morning America on the chopping block. The Post has learned. The Mouse House has demanded that GMA reduce its bottom line by whopping $19 million, up from the previous projections of $17 million before the end of Disney's fiscal year on September 30th. An insider with knowledge told the Post. The expected layoffs come as Disney began bringing down the axe on its TV group on Wednesday, slashing 140 jobs in its networks that include National Geographic and Freeform. Bloomberg reported. What the heck is Freeform?
I want to say it's their kid channel or something.
Is it like their Hallmark channel? I don't.
No. I think it's like a kiddie channel.
Okay. Meanwhile,
I mean, if someone in the chat knows better, please let us know.
Post,
I may be mistaken.
Okay. Meanwhile, sources told the Post that the GMA cuts won't be coming from the 8-figure salaries of the show's top talent.
Oh, of course not. Oh, heaven forbid they should do that.
Robin Roberts, Michael Strahan, and George Stephanopoulos.
Oh, really? Yeah, because they're so valuable. They got to protect those salaries. They're so necessary to the show.
Stephanopoulos has never been valuable.
No,
not even back in the Clinton days.
That's exactly what I mean.
No one's been impressed with him. I don't know why he's still around. I'm telling you, I think people have dirt on people. That's just what I think. Okay, they all have contracts, so there will be no one cut at that level. Former ABC exec said of the hosts who are estimated to make between $17 million, $18 million each, but they will have to cut jobs. Okay, so they'll have.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the other side of it. If they that actually could be what keeps these shows alive is. We got contracts with them. We'd have to pay them out. We may as well just do the shows and then not renew the contracts. So, just like labor lawing yourself into larger and larger salaries will get you get the business completely gone. Same thing happens with TV shows like this. We can't afford to do the TV show. Your salary's too much. Bye.
Part of me thinks, regardless how this election goes, it's time to purge a lot of the news areas are going to get purged.
Well, unless they keep infusing money from the rich globalists, then yeah, because nobody's watching this stuff anymore. So advertisers are going, well, there's no reason for us to invest in these shows anymore.
ABC News declined to comment. Oh, really? The pending cuts at GMA come as the show loses ground to NBC's Today, which is a close second in total viewers and consistently on top when it comes to viewers aged 25 to 54, a key advertising demographic. So the people that are still watching TVD are still watching NBC's Today. In the second quarter of the year, Nielsen gave GMA Good Morning America reeled in a 2.8 million total viewers and 494,000 viewers in the demo, while Today amassed 2.7 million viewers and 620,000 demo viewers. I never really watched Good Morning America, to be honest with you. I think I used to watch it with Regis and Kathy. If I was homesick from school or something, I might flick it on because it's like, oh, I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do. Watch Good Morning America. But, it's like... Right. When I was... during the summer, I would turn it on. I didn't care. Okay. Good Morning America is not doing quality stuff, said another former ABC exec. There's not a lot of tape pieces. It's more live hits, and there's a lot of segments selling stuff in the studio. What?
Yep.
What are they selling, like the props or something? Because they have no money? Or what are they selling? Or is it like a home shopping thing? I don't. Aside from outright cuts, both sources say Good Morning America and the network's other shows can deploy local reporters instead of sending national correspondents to cover events, an increasingly common practice at penny-pinching rivals like CBS News, which also parted ways with longtime evening news anchor Nora O'Donnell on Tuesday. Wow. ABC News will likely employ a hiring freeze and not fill listed open jobs, the first source said. There are already rumblings that ABC News Group and Network's president Deborah O'Connell will say big on one salary by not hiring an executive to replace former ABC News president Kim Godwin, who stepped down in May after a tumultuous 3-year run. The source said O'Connell will likely promote one of her deputies instead, a far thriftier option and one that will allow her to keep tabs on the inner workings of the network. It's going to be very difficult. The source said of the cuts the network is really cut close to the bone. It sounds like it's on its last legs, and I just think, is this just network television in general?
I mean, if we're honest, yes. To a greater degree, yes.
Okay. Good night, Sashi.
Oh, take care, Sashi.
Excuse me. On other streams when I mute, that's usually what's happening, or I'm sneezing.
Fair enough.
All right. So there we go. Are you sad about ABC News?
Not in the slightest. Absolutely not. But now we start getting into the what I feel is the somewhat humorous elements of the dismal Disney news.
Nobody wants to watch their woke crap anymore. Delete
That's for
it.
damn sure.
Honestly, not on this channel.
Right.
Okay. Jamie Lee Curtis says bashing Marvel was stupid, and I will do better. Let's read.
Yeah.
The controversy by
she deserves a good deal of derision for this take.
Jamie Lee Curtis is vowing to no longer throw shade at Marvel Studios. The Oscar winner recently went viral on social media due to a Comic-Con, not Comic-Con.
Right.
Not Comic-Con. Interview with MTV in which she was asked to name what phase the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in right now. Curtis responded, bad. Well, my comments about Marvel were stupid and I will do better, Curtis wrote in a statement on social media. I've reached out to Kevin Feige and will no longer play in that mudslinging sandbox of competition we call the internet, nor will I engage in the toilet paper promotion or gameplay that is designed for clicks, not content. I want Dan Aykroyd saying that in his Friday voice from the movie Dragnet.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that sounds. While Curtis admitted that publicly shading Marvel was wrong to do, she also wasn't necessarily incorrect about her assessment of the MCU. While Marvel is back on the top of the box office with Deadpool and Wolverine, which is bound to cross 1 billion mark.
Which is ironically a movie all about exactly the things that she said and how it sucks.
The latest phase.
Exactly.
That's funny. It sounds okay. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and the Marvels. The latter title became Marvel's lowest grossing movie in history with only 84 million at the domestic box office. I'll catch Deadpool and Wolverine someday, but Troy would be horrified to find out the movie I was watching earlier today. I'm not done with it yet, though.
Which one?
The Matt Reeves The Batman movie. I'm doing it for research purposes.
I'm sure you are.
No, do you know why?
Because you're going to compare it to that cartoon?
Because every time you have a major new Batman movie franchise, you have a cartoon that follows. Batman the Animated Series followed the 2 Burton movies. In fact, I would argue that the second Batman Animated Series, that was only 20 episodes, followed the Schumacher movies. Then you have The Batman following Batman Begins. I think that came out right around the time of Batman Begins, if not after. So you always get these cartoons, and while the cartoons are not matched up exactly, like they don't take place in the movie universe, they took some cues from those. And I was trying to see if maybe the things that informed this Amazon Batman series, if what informed it sort of had its origin in the Matt Reeves Batman movie. That's why I have to watch, especially because Matt Reeves was a producer on it. But we're not here to talk about the Amazon Batman series, so never mind that.
Right.
I purposely said if we ever talk about that, it'll be on Troy's stream, but that will be up to him. Not that I'm trying to pressure him. It's only 5 hours of your life.
It's an easy thing for him to do because he's like, well, you don't know what you want to talk about next Friday. How about this Batman thing? And I'm like,
it requires him to make an investment of time, and he has to decide if he wants to make that investment of time.
I did, by the way, watch the next episode of Outer Range.
I need to catch those before Friday. Yes, but. Like I said, that's the show I
and I didn't hear from you last night. Probably because I brought it up too close to the end of the stream. Deleted scenes, is that right? This Friday, Outer Range. We're going to talk about the next couple episodes. Let me know.
Friday. Well, we'll have to ask deleted scenes.
I just wanted confirmation before I
deleted scenes.
Thumbnail.
Are we doing the next two Outer Range episodes? By the way, I completely messed this up. Okay. On Friday. Anyway, I love the soundtrack of the 90s at Batman animated series. Shirley Walker did the soundtrack. She also did the soundtrack to the television series China Beach and also the movie Escape from L.A.
There you go.
From John Carpenter.
So, back to Jamie Lee Curtis. I know that, specifically Tom Connors over at Midnight's Edge was speculating that, this was... she gave her hot take based on her real opinion, and then someone came to her and said, you know what? You got Freaky Friday 2 coming out. You need to play nice with Disney. Don't badmouth them.
You're joking, right?
That was his speculation. It's not.
Are they going to get Lindsay Lohan to be in that? Because I guess that's what they would do, unless they would recast her. But she's been doing movies lately for Netflix, so maybe she's...
I have no idea. I know it's scheduled for... Huh?
Go ahead.
It's scheduled for 2025. It's listed as in production.
Disney Plus. Disney Plus movie. That's
what it could be, but either way, she's probably got some contractual bind to Disney. But I'll tell you something. Well, you know what? It almost means we have to. We almost have to get to the next piece because this bears on it directly, I think.
Yeah. So here we go. And Ryan Reynolds has fun with besieged Jamie Lee Curtis in aftermath of her MCU apology.
And that's supposed to say Ryan Reynolds. I missed the R when I copied and pasted. I'm sure you guys could figure that out from context.
That's all right. Deadpool is coming to the
Yes, it's Jan Reynolds. It's his Asian brother.
Did you know that Ryan Reynolds is Canadian?
Yes. Yeah, he makes that very clear in a lot of the jokes in his movies.
He looks like a standard American. He looks like the all-American guy, and I find out he's Canadian. It's like Shatner. Shatner's also Canadian. I think of all-American. I think William Shatner, and it's like, oh no, he's actually Canadian. It's like,
and Jewish.
Yes. Well, yeah, but there are plenty of Jewish people that are all American too. I'm just saying.
Well, no, I'm just saying. You don't think of him as being Jewish until you hear that Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler, and you're like,
Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock.
Both Jewish. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, they were my childhood heroes, let's be honest here. Okay, but Deadpool is coming to the rescue of Jamie Lee Curtis, who kicked the hornet's nest of Marvel fans with comments to MTV. Curtis mocked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which she compared unfavorably to her film, the Oscar-winning Everything Everywhere All at Once. I suspect Everything Everywhere All at Once was better, but I've not seen either. She claimed Doctor Strange was missing a dynamite dildo fight scene as well as a very erotic hot dog hand mating dance. I don't know. Now it's sounding it's on par now. That's what it said. Okay. In contrast, her film has a deep beating heart and brilliant visual treats, extraordinary performances, and fantastic beastly fight scenes, and it costs less than the entire craft service budget on Doctor Strange and any other Marvel movie. Well, we've talked about that before.
Right.
Some of these Disney shows. The MCU fandom reacted to the insult with a barrage of unkind comments. She apologized earlier today. Ryan Reynolds tried to quell the storm today with a response that absolved Curtis. Wait, is everyone expected to apologize for slamming Marvel post Endgame?
See, I don't think he was trying to help anybody. I think he was making hay. Because he knows that was the whole shtick behind his whole damn movie. And he's like, you're apologizing for what I literally just made a nearly $1 billion movie saying.
Deadpool's Canadian, though. Aren't all the mutants Canadian? I know Wolverine's Canadian.
Wolverine is also Canadian, yeah.
Yeah. And
played by an Aussie, so, whatever.
I was very annoyed in the X-Men Origins Wolverine when I guess it was Stryker that was doing the old anime. In the comics, it was the Canadian government that did all the experiments on him, not the United States government. And I had the impression too, when I'm saying Canadian government, it was probably by covert extension of basically Britain. That's what I probably thought it was, right?
Could be. Sure, that makes sense. Just like the United States does all their black ops through Ukraine. Wait, who said that?
Anyway, I'm going to get on a list now. Thank you. Anyway.
Oh, if we're not already on lists by now,
Boomer. Crimes.
Maybe watching that video I sent you might not be such a good idea now that I think about it.
And you call yourself an entertainment reporter because I didn't know Ryan Reynolds was Canadian. I never said I was a good entertainment reporter.
No, he doesn't call himself that. He just plays one on YouTube.
I'm just getting around to watching the Matt Reeves Batman movie now.
There you go.
Over and over again, and I now want to have an opinion on it because I have to finish watching it.
Honestly, though, here's the other thing. The article itself, the previous article, called her, Academy Award winner or whatever, Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, at this point in her career, she should just, if someone's coming to her and telling her you got to apologize, she should say, you know what, F you. I said what I said. I meant what I said. You don't like it. Too damn bad. I won't work for you again. She probably only has so many years left to be doing jobs. She needs to start being a little bit pickier.
This is what I don't understand. You have guys like Richard Dreyfuss who don't feel afraid to speak their mind, and then you have
because they have two things. First, they're realistic. They think exactly what I said. How many more years am I going to be doing acting? Yeah. And specifically, how many more years will I be acting, or how many jobs will I have potentially from you? So that's the one thing. The second one is they have friggin' integrity. They actually give a crap about their word and what people think about them. You know? They're not complete. They're not complete Hollywood whores, you know?
Yeah. I do also feel that Hollywood hates pop culture and hate it when they can. I think that there is, I don't know, I do feel like there's a certain derision to what's considered quote-unquote geek culture.
Yes, because everything that we like, because we're the bad guys. Remember, we are the alt-right, evil, thinking for ourselves, we are the Richard Dreyfus's, right? We have integrity. We look at the world around us. We make observations. We see what's happening, and we aren't buying their bullshit. And they don't like that. They want you to shut up and consume next product. They want you to believe what the propaganda tells you. Otherwise, you're an alt-right Yahtzee extremist conspiracy theorist, and I really do mean that. That is exactly what these Hollywood people believe. And if they don't realize they're pushing the message for people that do.
Here's what it is. We had, back in the olden days, the good old days, as we all
like Matt Inouye, I, in fact, do not have much integrity.
That's funny. Anyway.
But you're honest, so that's a little integrity, right?
Yeah, you had, back in the good old days, you had...
That's like the guy that says, I always lie. And then you're like, wait a minute, if you always lie, then you're telling me the truth.
Yes. Well, here's what it is. Back in the day, I felt like studios at some point cared about the band.
Troy is often wrongly a plus size, but I don't think I am on this one.
Yeah. I think that back in the day, those studios in Hollywood on some level cared about the brand.
Yeah.
And usually if they screwed up the brand, people would let them know very loudly, and it would be a shame thing, and they would probably change their tune. Look at what happened with the Alien franchise, with those next two movies that came out. People were screaming about it, and nobody came online calling us, nobody was screaming at people saying, oh, you're just haters and this. Yeah. No. People didn't like those movies, and they had the right not to like them. And I keep thinking
the thing is that they
Star Trek, they cared more about the brand back then.
This is the mistake that I think that our community has been making for years now, because we look at things through the lens of rationale and logic and intelligence, and we expect that companies want to make a profit, want to make money, and therefore will care about their brands. That no longer seems to be true. The motivation is no longer a concern about the brand, it's about the message. It is about their social reform. It is their, globalist agenda, taking it to the extreme.
Well, I think I've been learning about what the next step is going to be, but I'll talk. That's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
It'll be involved in the natural world. That's what I've been learning about. Okay, Hollywood look at geek culture with dollar signs in their eyes, and they don't understand us. They think if we like a franchise, then we will like anything the franchise name on. I've often joked that someone over at Lucasfilm could say, "We could make a movie about Yoda's left ass cheek just for the 2 hours, and people would pay big monies just to see." That
is the other aspect to it. You know, what is it? Hanlon's razor.
Yeah.
You know, don't attribute to malice what can adequately be explained by incompetence. The level of incompetence is also there. If in fact their motivation is still a profit motive, then they're just too damn stupid to pay attention to what the customers with the money want and give it to them. That's the problem. That's why I think that after a certain point, either you got a whole industry of drooling potatoes like the guy in the White House right now, or, you know, there's an ulterior motive. I don't really see another option.
Yeah. But I guess we're going to move on to the gaming industry. The gaming industry is in trouble right now.
I'll tell you what, the YouTuber that I admire so much, who's on the front line of all this, calling balls and strikes, and mostly strikes, is Smash JT.
JT.
We'll be bringing up one of his articles in a little bit, but right now,
Smash JT is a play on the name of the video game Smash TV, and Smash TV was a video game heavily inspired by what movie? The Running Man. See it all.
Wow.
Yes.
Now I picture you at a cork board with red thread.
Yeah, funny. No, but yeah, I remember Smash TV though. It was you even had a sleazy host saying stuff like, "I'd buy that for $1," which is a clear reference to RoboCop. Remember the guy on the TV
exactly.
And like big prizes. I love it. And he would say it between stages as you're trying to mow down tons of enemies,
right,
in a TV studio, and it was just it was funny. Bungie is laying off 220 employees and moving others to PlayStation. This is complicated. PlayStation bought Bungie. Them buying Bungie did not mean they had the rights. Okay, Bungie was famous for creating the Halo series.
Mm-hmm.
Then Halo was given over to another studio when Bungie, I think, left to make, I think, games for Activision, or to be a subsidiary of Activision. They worked on the Destiny games, and then Sony bought them out. I don't know what is left of this company now, but another round of layoffs has hit Bungie. Bungie CEO Pete Parsons made the announcements on the studio's website, citing the increasing cost of development and economic conditions as the reason for the reduction of staff. A reframe that's become common in the last 2 years of prolific video game industry layoffs. Parsons wrote that 220 roles would be eliminated, representing 17% of the company's workforce. Additionally, Parsons wrote that Bungie was working to integrate another 155 employees into other departments with Sony Interactive Entertainment. These numbers, combined with the 100 people laid off in October of last year, means that Bungie lost roughly 40% of its total workforce in the last 12 months. Bungie had already had around 1,200 employees last year before 100 people were laid off, and delay of the big Destiny 2, the Final Shape expansion. I'm not sure why Sony bought Bungie to begin with. I don't know what they're getting from it, because they're just laying everybody off. So you're losing your talent. And do you have any original properties that you got with them? You didn't get Halo, so I'm sure there was a reason for it. I just don't know what it is. This latest layoff announcement was accompanied by the news that Bungie employees are working on a new game. We are working with PlayStation Studios leadership to spin out one of our incubation projects, an action game set in a brand new fantasy and science fantasy universe, to form a new studio within PlayStation Studios to continue its promising development, Parsons wrote. Parsons offered an expansion for all the news, stating that Bungie grew too quickly and spread its leadership team too thin among its many projects. This had a knock-on effect of the studio's known projects, resulting in what Parsons called a quality miss with Destiny 2's Lightfall expansion and the delay of its next game, Marathon, which I think somebody said in the chat last week that Marathon was the original name for the Halo game before Halo became Halo.
Yeah.
We were overly ambitious. Our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red, he wrote. Parsons wrote that Bungie will continue to focus on Destiny 2 and Marathon. We still have our 850 team members building Destiny and Marathon. We will continue to build amazing experiences that exceed our players' expectations. I now remember why Sony probably bought this studio. I think they wanted a Bethesda-style studio. Bethesda are the people that made Fallout and Elder Scrolls Skyrim, and I think they even own id, which makes the Doom games. You know Doom, right? The old PC game.
Oh, yeah.
I think they wanted their own version of that for Sony, making like RPGs and these first-person shooters, and they thought Bungie would do it, but maybe Bungie was not managed properly, and that's why we're seeing all these layoffs.
Yeah.
But that's just, don't quote me on all that, though. I don't want to smash the TV. It's expensive. Yes. Well, that happened with the Wiimotes all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, they bought Bungie for this. Sale went through. All the top talent left the company. Oh, so everybody exited. So they didn't get the talent. All right. Well, that makes more sense. And yeah, Curtis Selby, Halo Marathon was Halo. I played a fair amount of it. Bethesda made Star Trek Legacy and then walked away from it. Yeah, that was a. If I'm thinking correctly, was that the one that was supposed to take place around the time of the second Abrams Star Trek movie, which was a disaster? I remember that game came out was a disaster. It was going to feature the Gorn in it. I'm starting to think the Gorn are a curse in Star Trek projects now. If the Gorn show up, it's a disaster waiting to happen. But
you know, and if that's true, and I think that's circumstantial, but I think it starts with the introduction of a Gorn in one of the last episodes of Star Trek Enterprise.
Yes,
you know,
from the alternate from the regular Star Trek,
the mirror universe, yeah,
the mirror universe. But they got it from the regular.
And it was kind of not great CG, but it wasn't bad. And it was like, okay, I could totally see this as a little bit updated kind of a Gorn, you know. For one thing, not all lumbering, you know, a little bit more agile, you know.
I imagine they were like dinosaur people, right? That's what
But here's the problem with it. Yeah. The problem wasn't the Gorn, obviously. The problem was that the show had lost the interest of the audience. They were down in the ratings because they spent damn much time on that stupid temporal Cold War, you know? For all of you that are saying, well, you know, they changed a lot of canon with that temporal Cold War, then you weren't paying attention to how they wrapped it up. And Archer was told, we've wiped away everything and none of that actually happened to fix the timeline. We succeeded thanks to your help. So nothing should be changed in the timeline from that. Just saying.
Oh, okay. No, this game was not that when the game took you through every series with each captain fighting the Borg, whose queen wasn't a simulated Vulcan. Oh, interesting. But I learned from Star Trek Picard that it's very difficult to assimilate Romulans, so I'd assume Vulcans would have the same issue, right? I'm sorry. That's what I say about Star Trek Picard and all the nonsense they introduced.
Exactly.
That's what made the Borg interesting. They were a threat to all alien races.
Yeah.
When they were doing their face-off against the Borg, even some Romulan ships showed up. Remember that?
Yeah. Because they kind of realized, holy crap, you know.
Yes. They actually they were siding with the Federation for that one fight, remember?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What I do like, though, is in Star Trek Online, the Romulans then started taking advantage of trying to obtain Borg technology so that they could have a leg up on the Federation.
This is what they thought the plot line of Star Trek Picard was going to be, that they had that Borg cube that they were caretaking. Oh, I see. The Romulans are going to try to start up the Empire again by trying to adapt this technology, and something is going to go horribly wrong. And
that third season of Picard drew a lot on Star Trek Online. Okay. I don't think Star Trek Online and the writers over there get enough credit for that season. Kind of like how the stuff they're doing in the Disney Plus Star Wars is, they did that in the EU and they did that in the EU, and it's like, but the EU did it better. in this case, I'm not saying one's better or worse. I'm just saying, they both were,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess. Troy, the problem with this video game industry is we, the fandom, are still waiting for the game we want, but we're getting games nobody asks for. All the time.
Actually, Jesse,
no one asks for the
it's not just the gaming industry. I would say that's all entertainment at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Bungie, but I did like this. This is an addendum to that article I just read. Bungie CEO criticized for spending millions on classic cars as costs for leadership changes escalate. Well, come on. You guys got to have some fun, right? Following news of yesterday's layoffs, Bungie CEO Pete Parsons has faced criticism for spending millions on classic cars since the studio was purchased by Sony in 2022, and bragging about his lavish collection as the company headed toward this week's latest brutal round of job losses. Do you remember? I heard stories about how in the Great Depression, if you had a nice car, you didn't dare drive it in some areas of the country, or you would get turned over by the people who are out of work. You better be careful. And this guy is spending. This isn't a nice car he has. It's many. Employees, some of whom are now unemployed, have shared links to the array of classic cars purchased via Bring a Trailer website with Parsons for the public and listing a vast number of auction wins. The earliest was in September 2022, costing $34,000. The most recent was June this year, costing $91,500, just a month before the layoffs. How exciting, wrote Parsons in the comment. I've wanted a C1 since I was a little kid. My second Hot Wheel ever in gold, going to its forever home. Parsons spent $79,000 on a vehicle in October 2023, just ahead of the previous layoffs, followed by 3 more purchases over the remainder of the year, including a Porsche costing over $200,000. In total, Parsons appears to have $2,414,550 in vehicles. What do you think of that?
That is. We are seeing so much of this stupid, brainless, completely unself-aware, let them eat cake attitude from these elites. This does not surprise me at all.
Parsons described yesterday's layoffs as some of the most difficult changes we've ever had to make as a studio in a blog post citing the rising cost of development, industry shifts, and enduring economic conditions, the key reasons for the cutbacks. I heard it said that Japanese companies, at least I know Nintendo did this and maybe some others, like when they're having hard economic times, the people running the companies will take a pay cut before they start letting staff go. And there's actually a logical reason for this, because why do you want to get rid of your talent? Because then you'll have no future.
Right.
But I have a suspicion people like Parsons don't care about the future of Bungie. They just care about, I got mine now, and who cares about the future of the Western gaming industry. That's my impression of this whole thing.
Yeah, that sounds very much like a very socialist kind of mentality. Just probably from my...
Because, it's not about growing the economy. It's about, I got mine and everybody else can drop dead. That's what it's
Exactly.
But apparently, former Destiny community manager Leah shared a story on social media of struggling to find money for groceries while working at Bungie, while Parsons bragged about a few new expensive cars he bought and that we should come to his house and see them. Yikes. Anyway. Am I expecting anything good to come out of Bungie going forward? I don't even know if I'm expecting anything good to come out of Sony going forward. Right. I have no idea why Japan let it go and let California take over Sony, the Sony gaming side, and just take it over. I don't know why they did that. But anyway, sorry, Star Trek captain is Jean-Luc Picard. Well, yeah, he was a captain. He was also an admiral in that one episode where Riker told him to shut up, remember?
Well, because he realized it wasn't Picard. Yeah.
That was my favorite saying. I beg your pardon. Shut up, as in close your mouth and stop talking.
That was a really good episode.
Yes. And
it was called, I believe it was called Future Imperfect.
Yes. And it was like Ambassador Tomalak was there. Yeah, we're going to the Romulans. We just need you to give over something, some code, so we can get into something, because we're at peace with the Romulans. I've been for years. And then it's like... And I think Riker figures it out, and then suddenly the thing fades, and he's in a Romulan facility. Of course, then we
right, because that's the way to keep the simulation going, right?
Yes.
Well, if you think this is all a plot by the Romulans, okay, well, that's what will make it now,
he got into trouble when he realized the boy's mother was Minuet, right?
Yeah.
Which was a hologram that he met, like
which is very interesting because it tells you something about his psychology, right? Where this simulacrum, this artificial character that he fell in love with was so real to him, right? Intellectually, he knows she's not real, but that means that some part of his mind has never really let go of her,
They did a similar thing on Justice League when Superman was caught in like this perfect world type scenario, right? And he was married. He was living on Krypton. Krypton never blew up, and he was married to a woman that was a combination of Lana Lang and Lois Lane, which I thought was interesting. Like she had like traits of both, and it means that he loved both. And probably was having a hard time.
That was based on a classic. If you can find the comic, it's not. I mean, it's fairly common. I don't think it's terribly valuable. It was a Superman annual called "For the Man Who Has Everything" by Alan Moore.
And they did adapt
and it's not just Superman. They hit Batman too.
They did.
I can't remember if maybe Wonder Woman wasn't there. It was just.
She was in the episode, but nothing happens with her.
I'm just trying to remember if she was in the comic. I remember that it was Robin who ends up saving them. It's really? Robin who ends up putting on these gloves and taking this doodah off of the chest of the hero to save them or whatever.
Robin? Who's Robin?
Batman's sidekick?
Well, I would ask DC and Warner Brothers the same question because.
I see what you're. I'm
No,
be sorry. You're right. I didn't catch the joke.
In the Brave and the Bold movie coming out. Wow, it's gonna be the Damian Wayne version though. So yay.
Wonder Woman was in that comic.
Oh, Wonder Woman was the one that saved him. She was the one that saved him, I think, on the animated episodes. Maybe she was in the comic. I don't know, but I know in the animated episodes. Nintendo profit down.
Yeah,
what to say about this, but I figured. I
only read the title, but I think the title kind of tells me exactly why this kind of makes sense.
Because people are waiting for their next console, and
right?
It's time. I don't know why they're taking so long to Switch 2. I think part of the reason was I think Nintendo knows that the economy is not in great shape, and they don't want to do a console launch. But I don't think the economy is getting any better, and they really need a new Switch system because they're having to deal with all kinds of piracy now.
Yep.
There was a joke where one of the game guys, he bought one of these video game computer machines online that have all the classics games and systems on them. They're not really legal, but you can buy them on places like Amazon. But then he was looking through this thing and he sees Nintendo Switch on there and he's like, what? And then he looks at some of the games in there and it's like, wait a minute, this just came out a month ago. Like, this shouldn't be on there.
Yep.
It's not like you're doing stuff like the Sega Dreamcast or the original PlayStation. It's like the stuff that's on the Switch now is on this thing that he bought off of Amazon or something. Nintendo saw its profit more than half in its first fiscal quarter for the year as sales of the Switch console continue to fall while consumers await news on the successor console. In its fiscal quarter 1 2025 earnings report released Friday, the Japan-based video game giant reported selling 2.1 million Switches, a console that is more than 7 years old from April 1st to June 30th, down 46% year over year. Yes, because the people that want the console buy it, and the people that are curious then buy it the next year, and eventually you don't have people buying the console anymore because everyone who wanted it has one.
Exactly.
Revenue for the quarter was 246.6 billion Japanese yen, and income was 80.9 billion. Analysts have forecast revenue of 289.61 billion yen, and income at 70.73 billion yen, according to the consensus data provided by LSEG, formerly Refinitiv. That's a mouthful.
I don't know.
Okay. When Nintendo released,
I'll take your word for it.
When Nintendo released its previous quarter results in May, Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa said, "We will make an announcement about the success of Nintendo Switch within this fiscal year." This means that by March of 2025, they'll announce the Switch 2. When it will launch is anybody's guess. I know the original Switch had an odd launch date. It didn't release in the fall or during the holidays. It kind of released during the winter, so that was interesting. Since there's been no update on the Switch 2 front, and Furukawa had warned that would be the case, the Nintendo Direct presentation in June did not make mention of the device at all. In the breakdown of its latest quarterly earnings results Friday, Nintendo stated there are no changes to its financial forecast for the fiscal year from what was published May, and doubled down on its current strategy until a Switch successor is announced. I kind of wish Nintendo had done another classic console, like while we're waiting for the Switch 2. Because when the Wii U was tanking, they did the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic. They're these little plug-and-play things which had like a few games on them, and it was like you had the original console.
Yeah.
And they never released a Game Boy Classic. I would love it if they released a backlit Game Boy with like 30 games on it. That would be cool.
Yep.
Obviously put Tetris on there. You'd probably have to put Pokemon on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me which version, and I don't know. They could probably get up to 30 titles on that thing easily and just release it, but they're not doing that sort of thing anymore, I guess. But yeah, okay, so they just released Nintendo World Champion. NES release was released in July. We have other titles planned for release, such as MEO the Smiling Man, Famicom Detective, that's the weird dude with the bag over his head, okay, and The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom in September. Other software publishers also plan to release a wide variety of titles. We expect to strive to invigorate the platform by continually introducing new titles in addition to the existing ones. As much as I want to bash Nintendo right now, they still have more stuff coming out for it than of interest to me than the other consoles, but I don't know. Should we move on to your favorite game series?
Well, I'll be honest with you. This one is a challenge for me because I really did enjoy this series. I spent a lot of money on this. But this is just like you, right? I've always been own physical media. Well, the problem with this is EA has been a company that has screwed over their customers.
Yep.
Even if you own the physical media, if you, can't go online, if you don't have the code, if you whatever, even if you have that disc in front of you, sorry, you can't play it.
Wow.
It's we're not supporting it anymore. Now get the new one. Oh, the new one is only digital download. There is no physical copy of it. You can't play it unless you go online.
EA just buys up studios and games and runs everything into the ground. That's what they do.
So this has been, and let me give a little bit
of gaming.
Before we get too into this, let me give a little bit of background about this. If you don't know what The Sims are, most people do. Even if you don't play it, you know. I've heard a lot of people refer to it as a digital dollhouse, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You create families, you create houses, you have careers, aspirations. They live their lives. You could do all kinds of little stories
on Sunday, right?
You could do romances. There's sci-fi in it. You could be abducted by aliens. You could work for a research facility. You could do all kinds of nifty things.
Didn't vampires show up at some point too?
Yes, they've had vampires, werewolves, everything. Just everything you can think of has been there. But this is the thing I'm getting at. It's also very customizable. There is a metric crap ton of custom stuff out there, right? So you, especially for clothes, costumes, all this kind of stuff, you can get all of that kind of stuff. I'll be honest with you. In at least 3 different versions of The Sims, we did a good old days a week or two back about the show Charmed. I created the whole Charmed manor house. All the characters, all the
Cat.
Yes, because you can have pets too. So they had the cat, everything. I had everything in that. I did Smallville. I did the whole town of Smallville. Because you could do a custom town and everything. I mean, I did all this kind of stuff, right? Well, here's the other thing.
Kent Farm.
Yes, absolutely. But here's the other thing. It's rated T for teen, right? So you're not supposed to have any adult material in there. Well, guess what? There's adult patches out there too. So you could do all the freaky deaky stuff, custom animations. I won't go too far into all of that, right? Also, meaning you could alter the code so that you could back in the day you wanted to what the game calls woohoo with someone of the same gender, well, you could do that.
Okay. Because that wasn't in the original games, yes.
Because you weren't able to in the original games, right? And then Maxis comes, it used to be Maxis, EA Games, whatever, comes along and says, we think that people should have the right to be able to have same-sex relationships. So they put out a patch, and of course that destroys anything you had, previously done with the game. So you got to go in and refix it. So if you had a gay character in The Sims previously, well, now you're no longer married to that same-sex person, and your entire relationship is destroyed, and you got to start that character over again.
Because that was done with a mod in the
exactly,
mod.
And that really,
why is EA negative against mods? Because I would figure other companies.
It's a weird dynamic because they have made it so easy to do mods. They have even now built into the game ways of sharing mods through their own platform and whatnot.
Okay.
But yeah, there's certain things they don't, because they don't like anything that's going to break their rated T for teen. But then that brings us to this article, which I think really does eat into not only the T for teen and what you're making part of the game for kids, but in your goal of being inclusive and giving people representation, the people you claim to be representing are feeling anything but, and actually getting upset and pissed off about it.
It's interesting how it's almost like you go too far to the left and then you come out on the extreme far right or something.
Yeah.
Okay, the age-old fine line exists between genuine inclusivity and overt pandering, and we're seeing that line be pushed more and more every day toward the abyss.
Now, wait a minute. One other thing we should kind of pack into this. This is from Smash JT. I've been talking about how much I really like his channel. You should go subscribe to him. There is no doubt, and he will admit this himself, he's got a bias here, and his bias.
It's an opinion article. This is an.
It is an opinion article. His opinion and his bias tends to align with mine, and maybe a lot of yours. I don't know, but I am saying that up front because, interestingly, insofar as it is a bias, he is in agreement with the LGB community, apparently, on this, as he outlines as he goes through this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, the introduction of the Lovestruck expansion pack has sparked widespread controversy, not only for its content, but by its approach to a topic as foundational and basic as marriage. By removing traditional terms like husband and wife, the game's development team claims its purpose is to aim for greater inclusivity. But in reality, the execution exposes a different agenda, one that seems far more focused on corporate gain than genuine representation. What's even more wild is there are a lot of people pissed off in the Sims community by zero-modding these terms out of the game to return in back to the original verbiage via their Patreon. Zero continues the above Patreon post. Okay. I made this while waiting for the expansion pack to come out because I was bored and got pissed off. In the meantime, Max has fully embraced the pronoun industry idiocy in the last expansion packs. This mod removes the pronouns they're giving to the pre-mates. Okay, he goes on to say inclusivity or marketing strategy. With the Lovestruck expansion, EA is dressing up a sales strategy as progressivism.
Right.
The change forces players to purchase $40 expansion pack to restore even a semblance of the previous functionality related to marriage titles. I was informed via email about this update from Devon, a viewer who stated, the only way to restore a tiny bit of this functionality is to purchase the new expansion pass, which costs $40. A lot of folks are upset about this, even folks on the LGBT side of things, because it makes things less inclusive for everyone by including gay people who prefer being husband and wife, etc.
Exactly.
I wish they had just added the new terms instead of replacing the existing ones. For me, The Sims officially removing or replacing all those terms with neutral ones has a bad vibe, and they're the official company, so it makes it worse for me. Well, this makes sense. Well, if you wanted to just include alternative terms, why didn't they just do that?
And see, that's
like spouse or partner.
The thing with something like this is you should have as much freedom to do what you want. If you have the ability to decide the characteristics of every character in your game, every aspect of the house, what jobs they do, you could literally, you get granular into everything, and the ability to create your own custom content, then for crying out loud, you should let people have the freedom to say male, female, he, she, spouse, wife, husband, however you choose. For example, and maybe this is just me, taking an opportunity to, promote another stream we're going to be doing this week. Friday, we'll have deleted scenes. He seemed to confirm it in the chat. So we'll be talking about Outer Range again, specifically about a character named Joy, who is a homosexual female married to another woman. And multiple times during the episode, well, the last episode I saw anyway, she refers to her wife, which one of the things we've said about this character in our previous commentaries about the show is it is so organic, right? It's like they just wrote a gay character, and they wrote the gay character not to push an agenda, but to include a gay character that is realistic. Right. And I won't go too far down that road in the things they don't do and the things that they do that make it so realistic. But that is one of them. Her referring to her wife, Right. And you're taking that away. If she wanted to create herself and her wife in her Sims game, she would not have that opportunity. She would have to say my spouse, which some people can consider. If I would imagine, it may come as a shock to you. It might come as a shock to my wife sitting across from me. I'm not gay myself. Okay?
Right.
Never wanted to be, never had an interest, right? But I can imagine, right? Because I have empathy and intelligence. So I can imagine if I were a gay man and I married a man and considered him my husband, and then I was told, you can't call him your husband, you need to call him your spouse. Wait a minute, you're saying all these generations of gay people who have wanted the right to get married and love who you want to love, I can't say husband, I gotta say spouse? Screw you. Okay. And that's exactly what this article is. I'm sorry, I went off editorializing, and I just took the whole article and underlined it in red and highlighted the whole page. I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, but I'm about to go on to explain maybe what the reasonings behind this is. So there's nothing wrong with husband and wife feels at best performative to replace these terms instead of at least offering new options to be more inclusive, will still respect the traditional language many players value. Many Sims fans are approaching Zero's work, including Theory, who replied, "Thank you for this, Zero. Truly, as gender dysphoric gay man, RN, I don't want these changes. I fought for inclusion and diversity before as an activist, sure, but not erasure of gendered languages. Adding gender-neutral terms shouldn't come at the cost of erasing already established truths. That's totally not what I think many of the older generations of LGBT and activists fought for. I know this is a rambling of a jaded former activist, but thanks. No, this is about...
as a heterosexual man who just speculated, I would imagine if I was a guy, and then you see that, and I'm like, okay, so I was right. I imagined correctly.
Here's what's going on. This is not just going on here. It's going on in other aspects of gaming. It's going on with translations of a lot of Japanese RPGs, and I have to keep an eye out for this because I get pissed when they do this. The removal of gendered language. The removal of things like husband, wife, brother, sister, him, they do their best to eliminate that, and I don't know what this necessarily has to do with the whole gay movement either. I don't know. I think that's being used as a shield for something else.
Yeah,
I just don't quite know why they want to remove the whole gender. It's probably about bringing men down a peg. That's what I.
Curtis says, I don't mind a gay character. I just don't want any weird political forced gay character. You mean like taking a historical character and deciding that they were gay? Just saying. Another thing from gaming. But yeah, I mean, and I'm sorry, go on.
No, it's okay.
Boomer. Obviously, I feel strongly about this one.
How dare you, 123rd Ostrich.
And I would not mind if the game gave you the option to choose your pronouns, okay? I think that's stupid, but people do it on Twitter all the time, or X, or whatever you call it. I don't begrudge them doing that. I think it's stupid. I do form opinions of them by the fact that they're doing it. I choose not to do it, but they should have the right to do it if they so choose. I feel the same way about this game. Give the players the opportunity to choose.
Yep. Community backlash, the reaction.
Matanui, the more you share, the more I like you. My political alignment is fuck everybody. Again, you are probably one of the most honest people in our chat, Matanui. Thank you for that. Your integrity level goes up and up and up, in my opinion.
Oh, wait, Geek Flag was saying the principal of my son's school refused to refer to me or my wife as husband and wife. Yeah, it's happening there too. Because they're
and this is where there has to start being pushback. You have to start saying, look, if I need to respect other people's pronouns and all that bullshit, you better as hell respect mine.
Yes.
If you want me to say he, she, they, whatever, then you better refer to me as he and her as her. Husband, wife. You don't like it? Then you're the bigot.
So community backlash. The reaction from the community has been wild. On Reddit, folks are getting their panties in a bunch around these changes, leading to moderation actions that many feel suppress valid critiques of the game's directions. This means we don't want to hear criticism against EA, considered by many to be the worst gaming company, or no, not the worst gaming company, one of the worst companies, period, in the world.
Yeah.
Many posts are being deleted by mods as well, almost like they don't want a conversation about it. We're the Patreon.
You know, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you in the middle of a sentence,
Whatever.
But I've actually gotten to the point where I am getting ready to uninstall the whole game, free up hard drive space, and start playing something else. You know, I really don't need it. Because I am not going to make the jump. When they eventually get around to Sims 5, I will not invest a single dollar in it. And this will be going away soon. I'm sure of it. Either because the company goes bust or because they need to go on to Sims 5.
So this is going to be the big thing, the big contest or something, or the big, big helping of Troy. We need to find him a new Sim game to play.
You know,
life Sim game. He needs.
I know that there was one that I've been following.
Farmville? I know that's a big
No. It was some sort of life simulator, and it in some ways it emulated The Sims. In other ways, I thought it was better. It certainly seemed to be open world, like Sims 3 was.
You already own Goat Simulator. I'm sorry. No, that's not
yeah.
That's not a life sim. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great if you want to play as a goat. If you want to play as a human, I need something else. Yeah.
Okay, you need so we need a sim game for you. Well, okay, you said you saw one that looked promising?
Yeah, I was following the development of it, but I haven't seen anything come of it. I don't know if it fell apart or if I just lost track of it.
You need to find one of these new sim games where someone in the modding community has done a complete recreation of the Twin Peaks town.
I was going to start doing that in The Sims, and then decided not to. Yeah, didn't bother. But there is a lot of custom Twin Peaks stuff out there for The Sims. So
anyway, good on Smash JT. This was a good little article. It continues on, but true inclusivity. He ends the was saying true inclusivity in gaming involves thoughtful integration of diverse identity experiences, not these token gestures that cost extra. As the backlash community shows, even those who stand to benefit from more inclusive representation can recognize and reject the pandering when they see it. Okay, I think he's been very fair though, even though it is his opinion piece. So yeah, give us choices, but leave me alone is what I use. Yes, well, wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. They can kiss their own behind. Yeah, well, I want to say a response to them about that as far as EA goes, but here we go. Some positive news for you Top Gun fans, right?
Potentially, absolutely, yeah. I don't see why not. Let me just. Do
you know they had a Top Gun game on the NES?
Was it any good?
Well, apparently, in order to beat it, you needed the Power Glove. Remember the Power Glove?
Yes.
I
Why
never
would you
owned
need
one.
that for a Top Gun game? That's
I don't know, but
stupid.
apparently someone, I think the Angry Video Game Nerd was playing it online, and he actually got to win it by using the actual Power Glove.
Interesting.
That's what you had to use to
Interesting.
play the game. I don't know. That was a joke in that one with Doogie Howser, the movie with which he was in, where it was about him getting an NES as a kid, kind of like a Christmas Story type movie, and it was all about. And there's a scene in it where the one rich kid in town just got he had an NES, and he also had a Power Glove. And there's this whole thing with him using the Power Glove, and then he gets his ass kicked by one of the other girls in this, I guess, fighting game. And this is where we all came to the shock that the Power Glove didn't work.
It was one of those things where the hype was way beyond what it actually came out to be. But
well, you figured you'd get Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and you can actually punch Mike Tyson with the Power Glove. They were trying for motion controls even back in the old Nintendo days.
Interestingly, when we get to the Wii, it's like, okay, finally we're starting to get there. They should just, if you're going to have a punching game, you should have like 2 gloves that you wear, and whatnot. I'm sure that's what the Wii was. The Wii controllers were meant to be generic. It could be a punch, it could be swinging a golf club, it could be a lightsaber, it could be whatever, but might not be a bad idea to do with gloves, because they look cool too.
They did make a Punch-Out remake for the Nintendo Wii.
Paralives, that's what it is.
Yeah. Paralives?
Paralives, yes.
Okay, well, that might be what you have to look into.
Well, we'll see if it ever actually happens.
But
says it's releasing in 2025. We'll see.
It can't come soon enough from the sound of it.
It's an indie game. That in and of itself tells me. Directly comparing this project to the upcoming Sims 5. So I see no reason to continue. They're going to shut down Sims 4 anyway, so all of my content is going to be useless anyway.
I think it's time. I think when the companies don't give the fans, look for the smaller creators to give. What is it? The fans are. It's probably made by people that were fans of The Sims, and as we say, the fans make the best stuff, right?
Exactly right.
I like Glen Powell. But don't feel we need Top Gun 3. Lightning may not strike twice in the same place. We'll see. The first 1986 Top Gun movie was commercial success, won an Oscar, and became embedded in the American pop culture, but took multiple decades for its sequel to be released. The pandemic delayed its production for a further 3 years. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of horrified when I watched Maverick, though, and you had Maverick saying, "Aren't you going to fly and teach us? I don't do that anymore." But then there's a scene with him flying into the sheer cliff face and killing himself. I'm kidding. That doesn't happen in the movie. That's like the Rian Johnson version, right? I'm just kidding.
Right.
But the gamble paid off in Maverick. No, everybody loved Maverick. Okay, we made $1.495 billion at the box office, beating every superhero movie. It's almost like when you make movies the audience wants to go see, they actually go see it. It's weird. It's like the Twisters movie that came out. People really like that one too. Maverick also won an Oscar, became a cultural icon, and boosted the fame of rising stars Glen Powell and Miles Teller. I think Miles Teller was in those Divergent movies. Since 2022, there have been talks of another Top Gun movie, including reports of a spin-off focusing on Teller's Rooster character. During a live taping of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast published on Monday, Powell said he had a date for the sequel. Powell didn't specify whether this was a release date for the film or a date to start production, and he refused to give any other details. However, this is the closest fans got to a confirmation that Top Gun 3 is coming. Representatives for Powell, Cruise, and Paramount Pictures did not immediately respond to a comment request from Business Insider. Considering the success of Top Gun Maverick, another sequel could be a big win for Paramount, Cruise, and all the stars involved. Here's what's been reported so far. Top Gun 3 could focus on Teller's character, Rooster. Around this time Maverick was released, Teller was very vocal about another Top Gun sequel. Teller joined the franchise in Maverick as naval pilot Bradley Rooster Bradshaw, the son of Nick Goose Bradshaw. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen the last movie, it's kind of on you. I'm talking to myself.
Cruise's character, Pete Maverick Mitchell, blames himself for the death of Goose, meaning there's tension between Maverick and Rooster in the sequel, but the pair make up by the end of the film. Okay, well, that just basically spoiled the whole movie. The spoiler, though, and I'm going to give a spoiler. Anyone who hasn't seen it, close your ears, maybe even you, Troy. But basically, the reason why Rooster is pissed at Maverick isn't because of the thing that happened with his dad. He didn't blame him for that. He said that was an accident. He was angry because basically Maverick kept him from joining the Air Force.
Yeah.
He kept putting in things to prevent this character from joining. He said he set my career back 4 years. He was pissed. And of course we find out it was a deathbed thing from the mother wanting him to, she didn't want her son flying also, so that's what Maverick did. And he never told him about that because he said, well, there's no point in him hating his mother and me. He can just hate me. Yeah. That's, which I'm just spoiling a big part of the movie, but it was interesting because I saw where both were coming from. Do you understand? That's what we call nuance with your characters, right? When it's not one way, never mind. Anyway, obviously everyone was begging Tom to do a sequel right after the first one came out. Teller said, I think this movie puts a nice bow on it. It really kind of wraps it up, but we'll see. I'm available. So he did like it and thought that maybe we didn't need a sequel, but Teller also told Entertainment Tonight in July that he has talked to Cruise about making another sequel, but didn't say if Cruise supported the idea. Puck Deadline and Variety reported in January that Top Gun 3 was in the works. The three publications citing unnamed sources said Paramount has enlisted Maverick co-writer Aaron Kruger to start working on the next sequel. Variety reported that Kruger had begun writing the script last year, and Cruise and Paramount needed to sign off on the final draft. Cruise, Powell, and Teller were also reportedly expected to reprise their roles in the movie. Well, as long as they have a scripted draft before they make the movie, that would be good, right? It's always
one
good
would
when your
imagine,
script is
right?
written.
As opposed to like what's it called?
The last two Bond pictures.
The Captain Falcon. Let's start filming a bunch of crap without a script.
Well, the Bond movies did that too. Apparently, they announced Spectre, and they said, "Oh, you're doing a Spectre. I guess it's a movie about Spectre. What's it about? We haven't written the script yet." Oh, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Deadline and Puck also reported that Maverick producers Jerry Bruckheimer and David Ellison will return for the sequel. Maverick director Joseph Kosinski will either direct or produce a new film. So, judging by Powell's recent comments, he will likely return for the sequel. The only question left is whether Cruise and Teller will join him. Well, I think they'd have to, right? But I don't know. I will say this. One series that I thought didn't need a third movie was Equalizer 3, and I ended up really liking Equalizer 3. With Denzel Washington. It's almost like he spends time in Italy in it. That's all I'm going to say about it. You might get a kick out of it if you watch it, right? It's like he's basically learning to... He's actually having to be on the mend, so he stays in this Italian village, and he actually gets integrated with the people and starts, becoming one with the community. It's interesting. Even though he's this international Black Ops assassin guy turned justice guy. Anyway, never mind. Okay. Yeah. It seems like Glen Powell career is all sequels and remakes. To be fair, I think with Twisters, and I didn't see it yet. I want to try and catch it before it's out of theaters. But my impression of Twisters was we want to use the name recognition, but this has nothing to do with the original movie.
Yeah.
Now I want to watch Maverick again. Maverick's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Good cast. I have nothing bad to say about Maverick. That put a smile on my face. Once in a while, Hollywood can still make a movie that puts a smile on my face. If only for that pesky Disney and perhaps pesky Warner Brothers. But I don't know. Were you looking forward to the Battlestar Galactica reboot?
I kind of was not. I enjoyed the the previous reboot, so I have them all on DVD. I even wanted to love. I started to love till they canceled it, Caprica, but they
finally integrated that with the original series, though, didn't they?
It was implied integration from the beginning. It was kind of a prequel series,
Odama was in it, right? Was it a young Odama in it? I think.
That was another series.
Okay, all right.
That was another prequel series. I haven't seen that, actually. I just recently found out about it, so I got to check that out too. No, Caprica was like the origin of the Cylons, going back in the history.
Right. Let's not do that. That's a mistake.
Well, it started out good. It could have been great.
It had the best intentions, right? It's like the Planet of the Apes movies, right? We have the greatest of intentions with this drug we're creating, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It goes south. Good. Leave Battlestar Galactica alone. Caprica had Adama as a boy. Okay, so he was a boy. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So here we are. It's not happening. We're not getting this. This was what I was curious about. I was keeping my fingers crossed. I heard all sorts of things, though. I know in this redo series, it was reported that the Cylons were going to be a creation of a different race of aliens, not the human beings. And I think they destroyed their creator race, which I think were lizard type people or something.
Which would have been going back to the premise of the original series more.
Which I would have been okay if they were treating this as like maybe even a follow-up to the original series and maybe discount that second Battlestar Galactica series.
Oh gosh, right?
What is with Space 1999, Buck Rogers, and Battlestar Galactica? People love the first seasons, and they raise an eyebrow at the season 2s, right?
Well, because unfortunately, in the later seasons, the people doing it just completely lose track of what the people loved about it, and they end up destroying it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at okay, Buck Rogers, right? First season, we were already kind of not liking some of the changes they made because from the movie to the series, they eliminated this whole thing about the wastelands outside of New Chicago and so on and so forth, which was interesting storyline, right? And then the second season, they get rid of a lot of the characters you did like in favor of a bunch of crappy characters. They sidelined Wilma Deering, took her out of the skin-tight outfit that we all liked and put her in I don't know, she looked like some sort of a stewardess. I mean, it's like stupid. And they relegated her role from like the head of security for Earth to something like a Deanna Troi type
like
character.
It's like Troy type thing.
It's like, what the hell? You know, everyone. Hey. The only thing that was good about that second season was Tom Christopher as Hawk. I don't know, man.
Anyway, well, it looks like we're not getting...
And all the shows do stupid stuff like that. That's my point, you know.
You know why I don't think we're getting this remake? Because nobody has any money. That's why I think we're not getting it. The long-gestating reboot of Battlestar Galactica is no longer in development. A Peacock variety has learned exclusively. The project was first announced back in 2019 ahead of Peacock's official launch as part of the streamer's initial slate of original programming. It was never formally ordered to series, though. It was just teased to the investors. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Exact story details never emerged, but the show was said to be set in the same continuity as the 2003 Battlestar Galactica series. All right, well, that would have been interesting, though.
I don't see how, with the premise you just described to me, that would work. That would be fine with the 1970s, 1980s series.
Hey.
That would not work with the new one that they were doing.
You know, everything was a lie that we learned in the original 2003 Battlestar Galactica series.
That is the absolute best way to make sure that your reboot series nobody likes and nobody watches.
The reboot was a passion project for Sam Esmail, who was an executive producer via Esmail Corp. Under the company's overall deal with the studio UCP. Chad Hamilton of Esmail Group was also an executive producer. Michael Leslie had originally come on board as the writer of the reboot in 2020, but it was reported that he left the project in 2021. But recently, it was reported in January that Derek Simmons was attached to serve as writer, executive producer, and showrunner. According to an individual with knowledge of the situation, UCP will shop the project to other outlets. Peacock has aired very few sci-fi series to date. The NBC Universal streamer has previously found success with shows like the Mystery of the Week series Poker Face, starring Natasha Lyonne, which is prepping its second season. A prequel series to Seth MacFarlane's Ted films, also prepping its second season. And the live-action take on the Twisted Metal games, again prepping a second season. I heard people didn't like that. It did have Anthony Mackie in it, though. I remember that. But on the horizon, Peacock had shows coming like Fight Night, The $1 Million Heist, which boasts an all-star cast that includes Kevin Hart, Samuel L. Jackson, Tarish P. Henson, and Don Cheadle. The original Battlestar Galactica was created by Glenn A. Larson and featured a cast that included Richard Hatch, Dirk Benedict, Lauren Green, and Maren Jensen. Yes, we all know about this. They're just talking about the old show. Okay, that's it. So, oh, yikes. Okay, let's talk about this for 20 more minutes. Anyway. Okay. How you doing? What do you think, though? Are you upset?
I am not. I'm a bit relieved. This was one of those ones where I was like, you don't need to do this. Don't do it. If you're going to do this, just make sure it's good, but there's no way it's going to turn out good. And so this is like friggin' lancing a boil. You know, it's like, oh, it hurts, but man, it's such a relief.
What science fiction series do you think they could do a reboot of?
Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers, absolutely.
Yes. Who would you cast as Buck Rogers?
Hell, it's probably too late to get what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, at this point, yeah.
He's probably a little old for it. You know what? I don't care. Get someone unknown. That's fine.
Glen Powell is Buck Rogers.
I have no friggin' clue who that is.
He's the guy from Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't
He's
seen.
He's the good-looking leading man actor who will probably, we think, will go on to Star.
Okay, based on that role, it sounds like good casting without even having seen what he looks like.
He was basically the Maverick analog, like in
then that is a perfect.
Like there were younger analogs to the older characters.
I mean, and I hate to do typecasting type stuff, but you know, you think about you want there to be momentum. You were good in this role. You're basically slaying the same role, but in space. Now go, and that would be brilliant. And what would be even better? Here's how you update it a little bit, right? Ranger 3 is not a NASA space shuttle. It is fictional, private companies, reusable thing. And it instead of going into a wormhole and coming back, I mean, there's a lot of real world physics that they could pull to have him come back, years and years later.
Right.
And you could still basically do the same story. You could actually even do the whole, if you want to get all messagey about it, you could get into real world politics resulting in a nuclear war that, leaves everything devastated. He comes back to, 500 years later to a world that's, just having dug out of, the nuclear fallout and everything. It could make for a very poignant story. But you keep that element of an almost Ryan Reynolds-ish type character, who is dealing with grief.
Yeah.
You deal with the grief of losing your family and everything that's left behind with being, cocky, whatever, and having to adapt to this, this new world or whatever. That could be a really, really good thing.
Now I'm trying to think of television actors.
And here's something else. The Draconians, 500 years in the future, are one of the oldest Earth colonies.
Yes.
That's who they are. And yes, you could make them if you want to be no, I guess these days you can't make them another country, go with some sort of a Chinese or other Asian culture or something like that.
You know what show did that? Now, don't get me started on Foundation because season 2 happened and I don't want to talk about it. But the first season of Foundation, and yes, I'm sure it deviated plenty from the books, but one of the things I found interesting about it is, yes, it had a diverse class, But one of the interesting thing is when you had one planet of a group of humans from one planet and one group that were fighting each other, you could tell one group from this one planet had an Icelandic look to them, and the other group had more of an Indian or Pakistani look to them. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was, I keep forgetting, this is how many millions of years in the future. All the races we have now don't exist anymore. Now we have new branches off and stuff like that. Do you understand?
Right,
So
right.
I respected the fact that this makes sense in the context that if you're all one race living on a planet, or at least one group, you would look similar to each other.
Yes.
And then there was the main planet.
Well,
which was more diverse because you had people from all around the galaxy.
That is the primary theory now, that if, we were to go colonize other planets, after a certain number of generations, they would stop looking like humans as we understand them. They would be adapting to the new planet they are on.
This is like in the Lensman books. You had Van Buskirk, he was from a Dutch colony, but he was on a Dutch colony from a planet that had heavy gravity, so he was super strong in regular gravity because that race had to adapt, right? Wouldn't that be Andromeda? Actually, yeah, that was what's his name? The Kevin Sorbo character, Dylan Hunt. He was I think he was partly he had some part genetic engineering in it from the colony because they had to have it to survive on the colony. That's why I think he had extra strength, right? Do you remember Andromeda?
I never saw the show.
Andromeda was a fascinating science fiction series. I think it kind of went off the rails a little bit. I still watch it to the end because I think the head writer had conflict with Kevin Sorbo or something. So, because there was a plan. But here was the interesting thing. This is the basic premise of Andromeda. It was created by Gene Roddenberry, apparently. They threw his name on a lot of series. Remember Earth Final Conflict? That was another. Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict. Andromeda, the premise of Andromeda was you had this... I think it was called like the Confederation or something in Love Planets. It was something like that, right? In the future, and it was basically like, I don't know if that was called like, it was basically a mock United Federation of Planets. It was like this, but it's not taking place in the Star Trek universe. It's its own universe, and there are different races that belong. Like there's one race called the Nietzscheans, which were genetically engineered humans that follow the teachings of Nietzsche and Ayn Rand and stuff, and they're very about. But so they're actually considered a separate race from the humans. And then you got like these bug aliens and other things, and they're all part of this thing. And then something horrible goes wrong, and the Confederate and the Systems Commonwealth, that's what it was called. The Systems Commonwealth falls apart. And while the beginning of that's happening, Dylan Hunt unfortunately and his ship get caught inside of a black hole or something, or Event Horizon. They get kicked out on the other side, and he's now a few hundred years in the future, and the whole thing is now in disarray. And he's now trying to put it all back together again because he's from the era when it was all together. So he's trying to get all these races to sign on and become part of the Systems Commonwealth again. And there are other interesting things on the show, like you found out that there's this alien race called the Magog that they were trying to let into the Systems Commonwealth, and they're actually being led by this sinister entity, which I don't know if we ever found out what it was. The Magog were interesting. The way they would breed is they would find a sentient human creature from another race, like a human or something, and the eggs would be implanted into them, and then the hatchlings would come out. But then the hatchlings would also have the knowledge of whatever human was
interesting
they came from. And I think what happened was one time there was a future religion on Earth called the Way, which kind of combined elements from different religions like Christianity and Buddhism and other thing. And basically a Magog infected one of those priests or whatever, right, or monks. And when all the Magog came out, they were now believers in the Way. So then they were all against. Then they became against, and this was like a group of Magog that separated off. Now we're against the whole attacking races and like implanting the eggs in other sentient. We got to find a different way of doing that and stuff. So that was interesting. But
so I guess
it was a good premise for a science fiction series.
I guess what I was getting at was like Lester and Deleted Scenes are saying, a lot of these reboots we don't want because we enjoyed the original. I just felt that Battlestar Galactica, let's face it, it's one of those shows that I loved as a kid. Coming back as an adult, I'm like, this wasn't as good as I remember it. You know, the marketing was great on it. The original movie was great. The series, it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag.
One thing I will say that impressed me about the original series, at least from what I can see, at least from that first season, is that they had a lot of two-parter episodes.
Yeah.
Which I'm impressed. I don't know why shows.
And sometimes the two-part episode. Well, but that was also that gets into a whole other thing about the marketing of it overseas and stuff as movies.
You could put them out as movies, yeah.
But here's the other element of it. So, like I said, there's a lot of older shows that were really hokey that, if done right, could be rebooted in a good way. Yeah. Okay? For example, you look at the A-Team, great idea. They could update that. They tried with a movie. There were some good things about it, but by and large, it sucked.
Yeah.
They didn't stick the landing. You know, I feel that Battlestar Galactica was one that did stick the landing.
Oh boy, MacGyver. I stuck it out with MacGyver, but oh man.
No, I never even saw an episode of it. I liked the original MacGyver. I didn't care about a reboot.
Talk about they would lose the plot all the time. Like the writers would start a plot line and then not know what to do. But there were interesting things on the new MacGyver, which maybe they ripped off from the original show. Like he was originally a guy over he was, of course, the whiz science kid, but he originally, one of his original jobs was he was a bomb deactivator in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. And I don't know if that comes from the original MacGyver or not. Maybe he was in Vietnam or something. On this new show, the actor they had playing the assassin character, you remember with the reoccurring villain in the original MacGyver series, Murdoch. I really liked the actor they had playing him. That's why I tuned into the new MacGyver series, because it was played by the guy who was in Late Night with the Devil.
Okay.
Really good actor, and he really chewed the scenery as a great villain. And people would often compare the two, and they weren't sure who they liked better. Of course, the original MacGyver series, I'm sure, was a lot better than the reboot, though, because the reboot just...
Oh, wow, I didn't know this. Deleted Scene says the MacGyver reboot was BS. They turned him into an Antifa member.
Later on, yes. Like in that final season, I don't even know if it was... They really turned on the woke in the final season.
Here's the problem. Here's what it really comes down to. I could philosophize about what shows would be good to reboot and what should be left alone and so forth. Ultimately, they should all be fucking left alone, because I don't think the talent exists anymore in the entertainment industry to write a simple series with character development for people that are normal human beings that want to like other normal human beings.
Oh, the things I want to say right now, but I have to keep my mouth shut about certain shows. Anyway, what was I going to say, though? UFO is what I'd love to see them remake, the original British science fiction series. But they'd have to do it well.
Yeah, and who's going to do that? Who's going to do it? What network did that come from? Who owns the rights to it? Do you trust them?
No, it was ITV. It was ITV. If ITV were to make it, ITV can sometimes put out some good stuff from England. They're not like the BBC.
But I was just going to say, but they're still bound by where they are. So.
Well, yes.
Joshua V, long time no see. Good to see you, my friend.
But UFO could be decent if done right. Yeah, because I love the...
That is such... Those three words are huge. If done right. The chances of that happening with anything these days is slim to none.
The premise of UFO was fascinating, because here's the premise of UFO. The governments of the world are finally starting to share things, and they're finally starting to realize, hey, you know all those stories people talk about of alien abductions and seeing UFOs? They're real. And they're becoming more frequent. That's why the governments of the world and the intelligence starts becoming more aware of it. And they decide we need to set up an agency, and it becomes like, I think, a UN-funded thing, or maybe even all the governments of the world. Maybe I don't even know if Russia was involved. Basically, we need to set up an organization, all the countries of the world, a secret organization that will deal with this UFO threat, and we'll get all the best pilots and best people from around the world to house it. And to figure out what's going on and why. And you learn as the show goes on that the reason the aliens are abducting humans, they're harvesting our organs to keep themselves alive.
That's ghoulish.
And they're very much like us in appearance and shape, except they're green. And the reason they're green is because they all stay in this weird fluid when they pilot the UFOs that eventually turns their skin color to green. And it was It was a fascinating premise for a series. It was all about us trying to deal with this threat, but having to deal with it in secret. And I remember one fascinating episode where the British Navy shot down one of the UFOs, and I got all goosebumps. I'm like, wait a minute, does the Navy also know about this? And they're doing their own thing. Of course, it turned out that wasn't the case. But if I were to redo the show, I'd say, yeah, just because you have this one secret organization doesn't mean that other government organizations also don't know about the UFOs and are doing their own things, maybe at cross purposes. If they tied into that would be interesting too. But sadly, they sprinkle woke pixie dust into UFO and Space 1999 or some of my favorites. That's UFO threat.
You have a kindred spirit there in Mark Malnikoff, but he's right. That's what they would do these days.
And just leave it alone. Maybe we should get the Japanese to do more science fiction shows. Well, this is what this is one of the big reasons I got into anime back in the day, because they did a ton of science fiction series, and I think they're doing a lot more fantasy shows now.
Here's the interesting thing, Mark made a great point. He said UFO would look at us and laugh and leave. The funny thing is, the more we find out from a scientific point of view about the universe, the more we realize that there's really nothing in our galaxy, in our solar system, that's terribly unique that aliens would have any interest in. People say, huh?
Except on UFO, they wanted our organs.
Well, yes, but the predominant science is the chances of a race that evolved on a completely different planet with no connection to ours. The idea that there would be anything similar, that they would be able to. Any disease on our planet would have any impact on their biology, that they would be able to eat anything on our planet, that, they would have anything in common with us to interbreed. I mean, you can't even interbreed, different breeds of monkeys together. You're not going to be able to breed with an alien from another planet. So all those stories are BS.
I will defend UFO in this, in that they said, okay, so their physiology must be just like ours. And they said no, because the one guy was trying to have them inject like some truth serum into one of the things, trying to get this thing to talk. And he just killed it, because basically they don't really know this physiology. They just look like us, but for all I know, they're grafting the skin off of human beings too and putting them on something else. We just didn't know. They like, it was like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back on that show. It was like you didn't know.
And then you look at things like the miniseries V, right? What are they coming here for? They need food and they need water. Well, if they need water, there are planets, the exoplanets that we found that are all water, with no indication that there's any life on them. You don't have to deal with this great subterfuge and, the possibility of having to fight off, the natives. You just go and suck the planet dry. And that's, you go on to another one, because there's probably plenty more.
Did you watch the remake of V?
I tried to. There were some things I liked about it, but not really.
It looked like with the finale they were going to tie it to the original, because they had the original actor Mark Singer come out from underground, and they said, "Oh, we've been dealing with them for a long time." That's what he said, and I was like, "Oh, are they going to tie this to the original?" I don't
think they were going to, though. I think that was just a meta nod, and he was playing a similar character. I wanted, and in fact, I picked up the book by Kenneth Johnson. He did a sequel, a tie-up sequel-like thing. Unfortunately, though, the fans all wanted a sequel to the series. The series was left on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. I know there was a lot of things about that series that were really shitty, but forget that. Fans still deserve their closure.
Yes.
He does this book. And of course I picked it up because I'm a completist, but the problem with it is it ignores the final battle, because he wasn't involved in that. He was doing a sequel to just the first miniseries. So it's like, it becomes like a Halloween type thing. It's like,
you find that with creators, though, like, I'm not going to pay attention because I wasn't involved.
Yeah.
It's like, It's like one of my favorite anime OVAs was Pat Labor and more Oshi. They did like a bonus episode of it later on, and he said, "Oh, I don't count that because I wasn't involved in it." Well, that episode was still better than some of the ones.
Mark points out that in that remake they brought back Jane Badler, who played Diana. She plays like the mother to the Diana character, who was played by, what's her name? The one from Deadpool's girlfriend. I forget, but she was
from Firefly. Yes,
right, exactly. She was Diana, and Jane Badler plays like her mother, and they weren't the same characters. This clearly was not, in any way directly connected to it wouldn't have worked if they actually tried to do that.
Yeah. Well, look, we've maybe it's time for us to watch new science fiction series. I heard great things about The Expanse. I just never got around to watching it. Those of you who didn't see Continuum, I was a big fan of that show when it was on. That was another Sci-Fi Channel science fiction series. Involved time travel, Troy.
Well, there you go.
But it was interesting because if the timeline got changed too much or something happened, that timeline got erased and the main character had to leap over into the new timeline being written or something. It was this weird
thing. Yeah, well, right now I'm following one time travel show, and that's enough for me right now. So there's a current sci-fi show, or maybe fantasy, called The Outer Range. We'll be talking about that this upcoming Friday on Last Call. But before that,
we have at 5 past midnight. We have The Other Side of Midnight.
Yes, and I understand that a certain bird woman and a very loud, bald Italian guy will be co-hosting with him. So hopefully you can tune in a little bit.
And then
tomorrow night, I think I'm going to take it easy. I'm just going to do the one movie.
What movie?
I'm going to do Peter O'Toole and Sophie Loren, the Man of La Mancha.
Oh, Man of La Mancha. Oh, that's a classic.
Yes,
I said Ben-Hur because it's 4 hours long.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Anyway.
So that'll be Monday night at the movies. I guess I could, if I start early, I can end early. So I'll stick with 8 o'clock. We'll stick with an 8 o'clock start Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, and get to bed at a decent hour. Guerrilla Random Thoughts, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. So that brings us to Tuesday. Link is up there for live from Sparkwood and 21, 7:30 on Deleted Scenes channel. The big Harry Dean Stanton episode, Don't Die. This one's going to be a challenging one for a number of reasons.
Wow, we lose the greats.
I know, right? But it's a good one. I mean, this is one of the things I love about Twin Peaks. There's a lot of goofiness and WTFs, but there are moments of incredible drama, and it's like all that other stuff kind of doesn't matter. If you're not into all that weird stuff, that's okay because the character moments are there too. So
and there's some comedy too.
Oh yeah, and there's plenty of great comedy.
Always good. Comedy's always good.
So I think we're all enjoying it. Deleted Scenes has said it's one of his most popular streams.
Excellent.
So I hope you guys and don't be intimidated if you haven't seen. I mean, you could always go back and watch the older episodes, and catch up. But jump in with us, and we'll get you caught up, and we'll help you out. That's what the whole point of it is. So that's Tuesday night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel. Thursday on Netter's Network.
Thursday's things.
Well, she's here, so I can cheat and ask her. Netter, who is Farvithian Guard? Yes, he is This is an author talking about his. We were just talking about new sci-fi and stuff. This is his book. We'll be talking with him about his book and maybe something for you to look into because the rest of the entertainment industry is letting you down. That'll be at.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
9 Central, 10 Eastern on Netter's Network.
Yeah, I have to say, I was watching a video and some guy was responding to an article about how, oh, men aren't reading anymore and blah blah, and he was arguing, no, it's the publishing houses that aren't writing books for a lot of these young men want to read books about
Right.
heroism, and that's where these indie writers and the self-published writers come into play.
Yep.
He's calling it the Iron Age of fiction, so that sounds like this is one of those types of writers you're having.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
An Iron Age writer. There you go.
Then after Netter's Network's Thursday things, get over to Deleted Scenes because, there's just so much going on Deleted Scenes channel. It's hard for me to keep up with all of it, but he's got his weekend update. So Thursday night, he can tell you what he's doing for the rest of the weekend.
Cool.
I've told you like 5 times already this stream, but I'm going to tell you again that this Friday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern, Deleted Scenes will be joining Age of Boomer and myself and Netter of Netter's Network as we talk about the next what was that? Two or three episodes. 2 episodes.
We said 2.
Well, I'm already halfway through watching, so I'm good.
I could have gone for all 4, but I think you wanted to.
I will watch one.
Lengthen it out as we're not going to have any more.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. So I will watch the other. So we will talk about the next 2 episodes of. That also gives us more time to talk about each episode.
And it gives you time to watch Cobra Kai.
Oh, that's a good point too. So I will. So we'll be talking about the next 2 episodes. So that's episodes like 4 and 5, I think it is. No, 3. No. 4 and 5, because we talked about the first 3, right? So we'll do 4 and 5. Yeah. So that'll be this Friday on. There'll be multi streams going on, but primarily on my channel. 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Which brings us around to Saturday. Let's see. That's Big Al's channel. Saturday movie night is. Big Al presents Films with Friends, the original Time Machine. Speaking of time travel stories.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep. So that
one's been referenced in movies. Remember Gremlins?
Yep.
There was a reference to it in Gremlins when he's at the Inventors Convention, and you see the guy in the
time machine in the back, and then it's missing later on. Yeah, exactly.
Where did it go? And they're looking around.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
So that is the week in review.
Just finished watching Bring Up Baby. One of the few times Cary Grant isn't a charismatic but a bumbling fool. Kind of makes me think of Clark Kent. He would have been a good Clark Kent, I think.
There have been a number of fan castings of him as Superman. Yes.
I really liked him in North by Northwest. That might be one of my favorite Cary Grant movies. But yeah.
Yes.
I like North by Northwest. But see you guys. See you, Sashi. It was great hanging out with all of you.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll have some more upbeat news next week.
Hope so, yeah.
I didn't feel like going after the dregs of Comic-Con that we didn't cover last week, like Russell T Davies' little meltdown there. I'm like, I'm done. You're off your rocker now. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Yeah, nobody cares anymore. That wasn't even on my radar.
No one cares anymore. Just go away.
It's unfortunate because there's a lot of channels. Some of my favorites, Doomcock and so forth, and I'm skipping a lot of their videos because they're talking about dead franchises.
We're just
I don't care
bored
about
at this
anymore.
point.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you don't even want to talk about the dead franchise anymore.
Yeah.
Like, until
they don't even exist to me anymore.
I made this argument with Star Wars until I see Disney announce that they're getting rid of people, and also the theatrical versions of Star Wars on media, physical media.
Exactly.
Done. Go away. I'm just done. This is ridiculous at this point. All right, but y'all have a good week.
Go watch The Other Side of Midnight.
Other Side of Midnight. Check it out. It'll be a great stream, I'm sure. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.